And welcome once again to another installment of Developing Your Small Business, sponsored by our friends at the Small Business Development Center. I'm Steve Summers, your host, being joined by Sean Lowe from 94.9 WDKB, and our special guest for today, which I think you will find very interesting, talking about your digital footprint in the digital world, the Director of Sales for Midwest Family Media and the Market Manager for WDKB in DeKalb, Kim Digiovanni. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me. Excited to do this today.
This is a whole new conversation that many years ago would not even been in the conversation. But now when you talk about a business, there's so many different facets to it, not only the broadcast end or your business and your personnel, but also the media end. And that's why your presentation today could be very helpful for a lot of businesses to learn the digital world. So whenever you're ready, we're all listening and ready to go. Right, Sean?
Great.
Yeah, ready. This will be good.
Yeah, and if you guys have questions along the way or things that pop in, please feel free to interrupt me. I've been working with small businesses for over 21 years, and the shift has been happening for a long time. But especially over the last year, when you thought about your real estate, it really came down to brick and mortar or just a domain name. And things have changed so quickly that we want to just take a little bit of time today and talk about, digital real estate for your business, really where to begin. What are those first steps? So the first question is, let's answer, what is digital real estate? And digital real estate is really any asset that lives online that you can buy or sell for profit. That, if you're doing e-commerce on your website, that's important. The domain name, your social media accounts, any other paid online marketing, anything that's paired with your business that's going to be part of your brand, that's your digital real estate. And just as important as your building being in a good condition and welcoming to new customers, your digital footprint needs to be the same. I always like to kind of talk about why we're talking about this. And this is the modern customer journey. Previously, businesses, like yours would want to find some awareness. And so they would really turn to traditional mediums like television, billboard, online display, just really early stuff, newspaper, obviously radio, that's still a big one, and word of mouth. And we've seen with this digital space growing, the customer journey is very different. Interest and awareness really can come from all those traditional medias we just talked about. There's solid options. And pardon me?
Oh, you're doing great.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought someone had a question. Again, all those are really solid options, but now there's a new layer to that. In that awareness cycle, we have, social, search, email, text, loyalty programs, YouTube, video ads. There's so many new ways that customers can be found. And that findability, this is really where the new journey starts. And this is where a lot of business owners really need to look at it and need some help. It's hard. One thing we say around here is the internet's infinite. So there's no way you alone can find these places and find these customers all on your own. So, looking at the journey and the funnel, awareness used to bring majority of the customers through your front door. Well, now your front door is open 24 hours a day with your website. So we want to make sure that, we're really pairing our real estate with the new customer journey. With search, people are going to look for you. They want to know your hours, where to find you, your website, your social media. And to do that, you have to be able to be found via search. Some people buy pay-per-click, maps, directories, apps, near me, GPS. It's a lot of the search. Once they find you, they want to know more about you. Online research is really important in this journey, and they're going to look at blogs and articles that whether you write or about your industry, reviews about the services and products you provide. They're going to look at social media. And this is really where the purchase point happens. When we go to conversion and they're looking to purchase something from you, a good or service, if they can't find those reviews, that social media presence, those trusted ways to know you're a good choice, they might go to your competitor. So it's really important. That's a really important function of the funnels. So when we look at this, we want to make sure that everybody's searching for whatever your business provides, that your business stands out, and that we get those conversions and make these new prospects advocates for you and talk about what a great purchase it was or experience, and then go tell more people. So this is just a, kind of an overview of that modern customer journey. Really important that, to understand that the new steps of the funnel have been added. The findability, reputation, and conversion. We're going to talk a lot about that today and how that applies to your brands. The number one place to start is your website. Your website's an additional front door to your business. It's open 24 hours a day and really is just truly the most important part of your digital real estate plan. When you have a website, the hard thing is sometimes we look at it and we're like, well, we've built it. You kind of set it and forget it. And unfortunately, websites have so many new functionalities that it's really important that you look back at that and look at it with a really kind of a pickiness to make sure that your brand is clearly defined on every page, and that the consumer really understands, what you want them to know why they're there. So you want a visible logo, maybe a video on the front page, clear and concise positioning statements that should greet each visitor. Whether it's a first-time user or a repeat visitor, you want to make sure your website really speaks to them and makes it a good user experience. And you also, if there's additional things you want them to do, sign up here, click here, you make sure it's there. A lot of times, depending on what they're looking for, if they're looking for quick information, they're going to go right to the tab. If they're learning about you, there's going to be certain, we call them kind of like hot spots that we would do like a heat map on where they go. So, click here, join our newsletter, call us, stop in, things like that. Whatever you want them to do, ask for that action. It's really important. Layout, organized and labeled every page. That's important. So you want to make sure that your website is clear and concise and organized. If someone wants to know where they can find you, what you do, testimonials, it really helps not only for the user experience, but also it'll help on the back end for on-page search engine optimization, as we talked about in that customer funnel, kind of the journey. Search is where it starts. Most research is done prior to purchase, prior to choosing something. So you really want to make sure that your website is found, and this will help organically. Instead of having to pay for your website to show up first, having great backlinks and having a great layout and things labeled properly will really help too. Make sure you have contact information and that your social media platforms are visible and properly linked. And most importantly, make sure that website's updated. As we've gone through the pandemic, so many small businesses have had to change hours or really pivot in a lot of directions. And the market's very aware of that. So it's important that if you have a new product or service, or if that you have a specialty service because of COVID, or you're doing things in a different way, make sure that's updated and out there. It builds trust with that end user, and it really shows you care about that site. And then you're really making those steps to building trust and winning that customer over. One of the biggest tips and tricks that I like to give our customers is to make sure you own your Google My Business and that it's connected. Google loves Google. So the more your website has links that take any kind of posts you do, whether it be social information on your website, reviews, and aggregates that to Google My Business, Google loves that. It shows that you're engaged with their products, so they're going to make sure they get people who are searching to engage in yours. So again, make sure you own your Google My Business, get it connected to your website, make sure you're posting updated hours, pictures that you might use on social. It really makes a big difference, puts your brand specifically in front of a lot more eyeballs. The next big thing when you talk about your digital footprint really has to be social media. Social media started out obviously just social and pictures, and it's become this monster way to market yourself. The only problem is it's very deceiving. Most of these social media platforms have a very specific algorithm that try to keep you from your core audience so that you pay for boosts and different things like that. So it's really important that when you build these social media platforms and you go to connect them, that you have a plan. And that number one plan is know your audience. Identify who that ideal customer is. Create a persona that'll help you stay on the right path. if you're a business that's very female driven, you want some brand consistency from the website, speaking to those colors that mimic your brand, that speak to a female audience. Make sure your social post really engages with them and you know who you're targeting. So often we just put one message out to so many that really the core message gets lost in all the different ways that people engage with that message. So it's important that you create that persona, know your audience, and really, commit to being on the right path and constantly engage with them. And that takes us to the next really big point, and that's be on the appropriate platforms. There's so many different platforms and more emerging every day that it's really important that you understand what each is used for. Twitter, which is the blue box with the white bird, that seems to be really big for larger events. You're going to have a lot of hashtags and a lot of trending things during March Madness, the Super Bowl, different things like that. So this is really great for national brands, not as much for local small businesses like yourself. This seems to be kind of underutilized in the Midwest unless it's like a larger NFL or baseball game, things like that. But, good to follow, fun to follow your teams. Doesn't hurt to have a presence there, but not as big here as it might be in a larger city or with the national brands. The next, which is a little camera in the multicolor box, it's Instagram. That's really going to hit probably 30 and under. This is going to be your millennial. Same thing with YouTube. They go to YouTube for news, shows, any kind of information. That's going to be really kind of like your under 30 to maybe 20 kind of millennials. Snapchat's going to be big with the kind of 16-year-olds, 12, 13, things like that. A little bit more difficult to use for marketing. It's fairly newer when it comes to use it as a marketing platform, but that's growing each day. So if you really have something that targets a younger brand, there are ways you can talk to our media rep or someone and you can kind of try that out if you choose. Facebook kind of was the originator of this, and this is where you're going to get a pretty heavy 30 to 54 demographic. They use it fairly often, good frequency. Probably the most popular. They changed their algorithm the most, so it's kind of the hardest code to break, but fairly easy to do so. Same thing with LinkedIn is professional, great for recruiting, great for products and services that really are B2B. So everything kind of has its niche. So make sure you're looking at the platforms and using them appropriately. The biggest thing I can say with social media, video is the highest form of engagement on any platform. So if you have the ability to create these videos about your products and services, use these platforms to do so. You're going to get the highest amount of eyeballs looking at that message and engaging with you. Again, looking at video, another really important kind of step in creating the social media platform so that it's cohesive with your brand and really does something for you. You don't want to just post to post. Yes, everybody loved the Bernie memes sitting everywhere, but it really didn't teach anybody anything about your business or why they should go to you or what's special and unique. So I always say, have a plan to produce relevant copy and post it on a consistent basis. My mother used to always tell me, failure to plan is a plan to fail. So really sit down, set a goal of a minimum of 3 posts per week, work on that strategy ahead of time, and don't just shoot from the hip. Really think about what the audience is into. Obviously, if I'm an HVAC company, this is such a great time that I really want to showcase how important clean and checks are. Maybe doing dust cleaning, just some of that maintenance to set yourself up for a great season. That's going to be really relevant content to that end user. Most people don't find HVAC a platform for social, but there's still a lot of people who want to follow you, who believe in your business. So when you give them, free information, great tips and tricks, that really creates a little bit more engagement. So the biggest thing on this, I would say, that I hope you take away is that minimum of 3 posts a week. That's really what it takes. A lot of our customers are doing up to 5 to make sure that they're breaking the algorithm and seeing new customers, not just targeting their existing ones.
So Kim, I have a question then. If, as a new business, would you recommend getting on all those platforms or only picking a few select that I could actually maintain? It seems if I'm new, that's a lot to digest in one time. So which would be the first primary three that I should start with? The website, of course, but what would the other
Yeah.
ones be?
Great question. Yeah, obviously always start with your website. That's going to be kind of the foundation to your digital presence. And really from there, I would start with two, and the two that makes the most sense for your demographic. If you're business to business, I would really just focus on, maybe LinkedIn and Facebook. If you're looking at a 25 to 54, that was the old demo that a lot of people used, Facebook and Instagram. YouTube has to be very, very video centric. It takes a lot of time and effort. So that's something that I would put on the back burner, as well as Snapchat. It's a fairly young audience, and advertising doesn't get quite the same return on investment. So depending on what you're trying to do, being on one platform is just as good as being on, two or three if it's the right one for you. But just like you said, as a newer business or a business who's really just trying to, kind of rebuild some of these assets, don't feel like you have to do them all. It's, stair step it. Once you get really good at one, feel free to add. This is something that we tell our customers. We do a lot of social media management for our customers, and we're like, let's start with one and grow. Right now I have a customer who we started with Facebook and Instagram. And, now that we've got that up and running, we've got everybody on a calendar. Now we're going to start integrating LinkedIn, because they also have a lot of opportunities in the B2B world. So, take that time and do what's right for you.
Excellent.
Thanks for that question, Steve. So the next part of this would be make sure that this is integrated with the rest of your digital platforms and strategy. If you wouldn't post it on your website, don't post it on social media. Be very protective of the things you put out. It should speak to your brand. It should represent your brand. It can be fun, and it can go a little to the left, a little to the right, but always try to stay in that same path so that everything's cohesive and it's all building together. If you pour, your budget from social and web all into one cup, eventually it overflows. And that's really the job here. You really want to make sure that you're not spreading your efforts out too far, and really combining them to get that cohesive brand amongst all the platforms and get those results quicker. Speaking of results, track analytics. Most people don't know if what they're doing is working, and that's really frustrating. We never set out to do something without a goal in mind, yet so often people will just put out posts and hope it works. So this is really where there's so many cool dashboards and different places that you can look to see how things are performing. Obviously, if you connect to Google Analytics, it'll tell you exactly where people are coming from. There's so many other platforms out there to see, how your efforts are performing. If it's something you're interested in, reach out. My information's at the end. It's fairly easy to do, but you always want to have a goal in mind. And we're so lucky to have all these analytics. Really track them. See, if you put a post out at 3 p.m. on a Thursday, how does it perform versus 9 a.m. on a Tuesday? Your audience is really going to connect with you at different times, and it's a good habit to watch, because you'll know when you'll get the most eyes, the highest engagement, what they respond to. So those analytics are key. If you just kind of, to do an overview, pick the right audience, be on that platform, have a plan of content that's really going to stand out to them, and then make sure it's connected to see what's working. You're going to get such better results from your efforts than most. Tips and tricks: give a benefit to follow you, exclusive deals, first to see new products, giveaways, features that only go to them. That really builds not only brand loyalty, but it gets them to go back and engage more with that brand on that social media. And then the more they see it and like it and share it, they also are doing some additional marketing for you. So social media is just a great place to be. Again, Steve, great question. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but if you kind of stick to these main bullet points and, start with one or two, you can really make a big dent in creating a nice piece of real estate for yourself on these platforms. Now with social media, something that's taught us was that people want to know more. They want to share their thoughts and opinions. And so, with that, we've seen pretty much the yellow pages go away, and online listings are the new place you look for things. And so listings are kind of overwhelming. Depending on the industry, there can be up to 1,500 different directories that you might be listed on, and you don't even know that you're listed on them. Someone could have picked it up from an old website or an old social media page and listed for you, and now you're listed incorrectly. You know, there's really 20 that are really heavily used. Obviously, Google, Yelp, you know, Angie's List if you're within those categories, Yahoo, Bing, City Search. There's all, you know, there's so many. So, you know, really want to touch base on why those listings matter. And it really just increases your discoverability. Again, going back to that customer journey, so many people are searching you out or for the product they are looking for, and they might not even know who you are yet. So we want to make sure not only that you're listed, but that your listing is correct. Because when your listing is correct, and it's prominent, it really becomes almost a lead generator for you, and it's going to help you build that presence when anybody does a search for something that's relevant to your industry, or if they search you specifically, or if they add the around me or near me within their search initiative. It really helps a lot to make sure you have these listings correct. So it's good to go through and see, you know, what are the best listings for your industry. It's an easy Google search that you can find, and then make sure you have everything correct. In a recent study, it showed that 79% of people do online research before even visiting the store, which tells me that number is probably even higher before they even pick up the phone or go to a website. So having those listings correct and paying a little bit of attention to that is really important. It improves your search engine optimization, which means, you know, brings you higher on the list to be found amongst the people searching for you. You know, when the business listing, you know, that are correct, it really helps you capture more results. It's going to constantly bring more and more people to you. And that's really important, because the more people that come to you, the more can engage, the more we can build trust and convert them to a sale. So that strengthens the keywords that belong in your business, your reputation. And all these leading listings are really leading factors with consumers to create trust. If they can't find you, they're going to go to your competitor.
And another point, Kim, is it's very interesting you bring up to check your status on all these different platforms, because especially if you're just taking over somebody else's company, or you're buying somebody else's company, or starting from scratch, you need to know what their reviews were beforehand, because you can be starting in the negative before you even start.
100%. You know, going back to the comment I made earlier, the internet is infinite. There's not a lot of rules and regulations. So even if it's a business you own, people can go and create a place for you, for your business, and say horrible things. We did have a situation once where a competitor had created a lot of bad reviews and connected some listings that weren't correct. Thankfully, that person's no longer in business. So you really have to look at it. It's just, you know, how, if you think about the money you used to spend in the yellow pages back when that was a thing, if your number was printed incorrectly for a year, you'd panic. Well, this is happening, and this is happening at a higher frequency. So you just want to make sure that you're really diving in, looking, and making sure it's as clean as possible. There's a ton of services out there that'll help do this. You know, this is just part of really good reputation management. This is where kind of this slide and the next slide, you know, this is where the business gets a little bit daunting. It takes a lot of time to, you know, maintain the website, create those social posts. But this is, you know, the listings when you're looking at, you know, 20, 30 places to make sure that you're at. It can be tough, but it's really, really worth it. A lot of these listings have geocodes associated with them. So it's going to influence your business, it's going to pick up your location, and it's going to drive business. So it really is worth the time. You know, you probably have to check these maybe 1 or 2 times a year, I would say, monthly if you can. But if not, you know, at least a couple times a year to make sure that things are properly listed and that your numbers, addresses, things like that are correct. And that's important because we get to really where those decisions are made. This is the place in the digital real estate where sales are made, and that's the reviews. There's a site called brightlocal.com, and they did a report saying 49% of consumers said they need a 4 rating or higher to even consider doing business with them, and that's 4 out of 5. So, you know, you want to make sure that you have the reviews. 94% of online shoppers reported that a negative review has convinced them to avoid that business completely. And that number is growing every day, because if you think of, people couldn't go out and shop like they did. They really relied on online resources. And so if you go to Amazon, you can see all the reviews, the pictures. It just brings it to life. So it makes that purchase a little less scary. So I think we're going to see those reviews become more and more prominent in creating that customer and getting them to make that decision to convert to be your customer. Proof drives purchases, like I mentioned with Amazon. When you can see the product, when others are sharing with you that they had a good experience, it eases the decision making process and really gets them heading in the right direction. It also builds trust. Again, using our friends at Amazon, or even just through a simple Google search, you can find hundreds of services and products. Why choose yours? If you have, your good listings, if you have reviews, if people are commenting, if you have a great social media place, you're a trusted source then. All these things also help you build authority through Google, and it makes your website stand out as well. So, you want to be those people deemed as best in the market, great service, my number one choice. Those are really important things to get noticed and really show that you strive for a very high level of customer satisfaction that turns your likelihood of turning a prospect into a sale to a much higher percentage. This is also, reviews are so essential in the decision-making process. Having no reviews, bad reviews, or reviews that have not been responded to puts you in a skip over category. So not only are the reviews important, but you have to respond to them. You need to say thank you, or I'm sorry you had that experience. Let's take this offline and let's take this offline and let me correct it for you. So you want to make sure, even though if you have a lot of good reviews, that you're taking the time to respond. That really helps with the customer journey, opens up that line of communication, and it really gives you the ability to build a customer for life. And again, it goes, open line to consumers. How often has someone had a bad experience and not shared it with you, and you would have loved to fix it? Sometimes reviews aren't my favorite because people can say whatever they want. You get the keyboard commandos, but at least it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to take that critique and either make changes or make it right, and so you don't lose a customer. So reviews are something that you're going to see, just the importance of that in who you are in the digital space. You're going to see this grow and grow and grow. These should be listed on your website, social. This then could also aggregate to the Google My Business. So reviews can be seen in a lot of places, and it's important that you just take the time to make sure that you're set up to not only see all those reviews, but that you're responding and then taking care of things that might not put you in the best light, or make sure you're sharing the great ones that put you in the best light, because people love a great success story as well. So I know that was a lot of information that we went over. I just want to say thank you so much for letting me share a little bit of what we do each day and what's out there. As a small business, there's a lot to do each day, and we love to be a part of it. If you need some additional information or have questions, if you really want to dive deeper on aligning your personal digital real estate, please call us at WDKB. We'd love to help you in any way we can.
Probably very hard to do this all by yourself, so it's always good to get people in your corner. And I'm glad you ended on that slide, because as you were presenting, I was like, well, there's a lot of businesses that are being like, yeah, but, and there's so much more to dive into. So reach out and talk to Kim or even Sean at 94.9 WDKB, and we can connect you with those dots. What a great session. It was a fast 30 minutes and a lot of information packed in there, Kim. That's a lot to digest.
It was. Well, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Oh, we appreciate it. And again, this is the presentation of the Small Business Development Center. Sean, any final words before we say thank you for watching?
Oh, no, I just think I was learning a lot as Kim was going through the slides one by one, and it just reminds you that the real estate market in the digital world has changed a long time on how to market your business from even just a few years ago. Technology changes every single day, and I think that Kim and her team are able to keep up with it and be able to communicate these different ways to you so often. So if you do have any questions, reach out to us, anybody here at our team, and we can help you.
Thank you for watching, and we appreciate it, and good luck.
Great. Thank